Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking around, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Breaker listed in 2012 specifically to look for large new gold systems in the vicinity of the capital of Australian gold mining, which is Kalgoorlie in Western Australia. We found one. Well, the actual discovery was 2016. We had some indications before that. But we're at the stage now where we've drilled 223,000 metres. We've got 1 million ounces. It is open in all directions. And there's going to be a lot more. So as a potential investment opportunity, the characteristics, and I'm mindful of Hedley's comments, the characteristics to me are minimal downside risk, but a lot of upside potential. And I say that not because purely because of the gold that we found, but the actual de-risking. I'm talking granted mining lease. I'm talking continuous loads where we've demonstrated the continuity. So the theme is quality and scale in a tier 1 location with camp scale growth potential and high-grade mining optionality. What does that mean? It means we can go underground in all likelihood based on the grades that I'll show you. It also means that in an open pit situation, we can high grade. We can go medium grade or lower grade. So there are options there, and that is a de-risking aspect. The 1 million ounce resource is at 1.3 grams. It is diluted. When we optimise that, I expect that grade to go up about 20 to 30%, 25% maybe, because that's generally what happens when you optimise it. It's a near-surface resource. This gold starts within 5 metres from surface. Again, another strong de-risking aspect. Some of the intersections, both along strike and at depth, I've shown you there, just to plant in your mind that, and I'll show you shortly, that there's a lot more to be found. And some of the de-risking aspects are listed there. I mentioned granted mining lease. The metallurgy is non-refractory. There's no problems whatsoever with high gravity return. And we've got mining studies ticking over in the progress. So I think it's important, before I get locked into too much detail, to state our strategy so there's no confusion. We're building this and going to keep building this, growing the ounces, adding value. In the meantime, we will keep the mining studies ticking over. If I talk to my investors, I get two diverse opinions. One is grow the thing, the other is get into early mining. Now, my attitude to that is I see getting ready to mining as an essential de-risking aspect, and that's what we've been doing. But we won't go mining until we're very comfortable and the risk has been mitigated. I see I actually forgot to press the button on that one, but you'll find all those points there, so I'll keep moving because I'm going to cover a lot of it again. Now, the characteristic of the discovery is essentially high grade, good width near surface. Some of those intersections are shown up the top, some of the best intersections seen in Western Australia in the last 2 years. I've got the Sydney Harbour Bridge down the bottom. The main reason I've got it there is to give you a sense of scale. So this is quite large. The closest analogy geologically is Kalgoorlie's Golden Mile. I'm not comparing the endowment by any means, but what we see are 3 low geometries, each of which is stacked. By that I simply mean one on top of the other, over a large area hosted by dolerite. So there's nothing new about this, and most of the gold in Western Australia, i.e. Paddington, St Ives, has the same mineralisation style. To give you an early feel for the growth potential, you can see the indicated component of our resource in dashed lines. We have poked some holes underneath, the deepest going to a maximum depth of 500 metres, and we've hit high-grade stuff. Plenty of grade in which to go underground in the long term. And usually what happens with these developments is you make your early money in the pit, but over many, many years, you tend to get more value in the underground, and I expect this to go exactly the same way. But in the meantime, while we're advancing our mining studies, we will keep growing this thing. One of the observations about this is it's not a walk-up target. You drill this area, you keep finding stuff. We've had a discovery every quarter for the last 3 years. We probably won't this quarter. Well, actually, I'll put the quarterly out and I'll think about that again, because we may well have. Actually, we have, I'm telling you now. So 220,000 metres still open in every direction. It's uncommon to see that. And it's uncommon to have greenfields discoveries. I haven't said that yet. This is the second greenfields discovery of significance since Gold Road's Gruyere deposit. There's not many around, not only in Australia, but worldwide. Okay, capital structure. Shares are quite tight, despite being listed since 2012. The management is quite diverse and very experienced, covering geology, engineering, metallurgy, and legal aspects. We've got a lot of skin in the game. We run the company like shareholders, and most of the money goes in the ground. A bit more detail on the individual directors. I don't want to bore you with that, but if you've got the time to come to our booth, you'll find a presentation, or go to our website, you'll get the detail here. Now, this is what the project looks like on the ground. We listed specifically to look for large deposits concealed by transported cover. The transported cover you see in this case is about 5 metres thick. It's enough to hide it. And that's why it's still there, that's why there's no historical workings. Yet, it's only 5 metres thick, so it's not enough to significantly interfere with the mining. In a regional context, we're between two large gold deposits, Saracen's Carosue, Silver Lake's Coroni. The reason we got here, and this is 100 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie, just to give you some perspective there, we pegged 600 square kilometres in the vicinity where those two black lines, two large shear zones, come together. A, because of the structural complexity, when shear zones get together, you get that, which is always good for gold. But also, when we got on the ground there, we found some of that green stuff, which is the dolerite, which is the main host rock for Kalgoorlie's Golden Mile, St Ives, Paddington, etc. And we found that was fractionated or had an iron-rich top, which is perfect, that's what you want to see. We then put your mind back to those photos, because there's none of this sticking out of the ground. You did wide-spaced air core drilling, and a simple premise that if you get continuity, whether it's in gold or your pathfinder elements, on a wide spacing, it's a very good, i.e. the holes are talking to each other, it's a very good chance you're on a large system, and that's how it's transpired. So we've done a lot of drilling. I guess the main point of this slide is to show that it's been quite focused in the middle to build that initial 1 million ounce resource, but we have done step-out drilling outside that, and when we've done that, we've hit stuff. Most of that hasn't been followed up yet, and herein is, I showed you briefly some of the depth potential. Here's some of the strike potential. So open in all directions after 223,000 metres of drilling. 17% of that drilling is orientated diamond core. The rest is RC. So this is high quality drilling. We put out a release this morning highlighting a new anomaly 1.3 kilometres to the southeast of Bombora. We've identified a brand new dolerite. It's kicking in gold, silver, tellurium and several other things. And what we're going to do starting early next month is crank up the RC on some of these targets outside Bombora. In other words, high impact potential discovery drilling to help the share price along. The intention of this slide is to show you that on the left, we've got our loads mapped. We understand the geology well, courtesy of the 40 by 20 drill pattern, which sometimes gets down to 20 by 20. But we've only explored about 10% of the footprint of the 600 square kilometre project. So there's a long way to go. The intent of this slide is to give you a feel for the quality of the intersections and how close they are to surface. And again, there's a Sydney Harbour Bridge down the bottom to say, this has got scale, this has got grade, this is near surface, this has got all the aspects of a de-risked small cap gold explorer that Headley was alluding to. This is a sectional view showing some of the steep lodes and flat lodes. We can see regularity between sections over 3 kilometres. When I say regularity, I mean regularity in shapes. If your shapes are hanging together when you go to mining, you'll generally have no problem. So we've done enough drilling to demonstrate continuity. We're not expecting any surprises when we go to do grade control drilling, but we will do some grade control drilling to demonstrate and remove that risk down to essentially zero. Again, this slide shows you some of the flat loads, and again to demonstrate our understanding of the deposit, and also some of the grades that we're seeing. So drilling targeting ongoing growth is going to continue, and I expect that to continue for many years to come. Multiple targets. Again, prime focus on simply building value for shareholders. We haven't put out a scoping study yet, but we've already got feasibility level metallurgy. We've got several other things underway. Again, we're progressing mining studies to de-risk, and when we press the button, we're going to be absolutely self-assured and confident that this is not going to fall off the rails like some recent stories out there. It is not very hard. We're getting excellent recovery, high gravity return, the gold drops out quickly. We're keeping all options open on the processing. It pays to be open-minded, I believe, but why exclude any options? This is just to remind you that you can make as much money underground as you can in an open pit, but if you have an open pit, which we obviously will, it's a huge advantage, it's a huge de-risk advantage. But if you can go underground, and this is why we think this is going to go underground in due course, you can add, it has potential to add multiples to any value you assign on the you assign to the project. And this is another steep lode. So yes, this will go underground. So in summary, there's quite a few things that make Breaker a different gold story. A lot of it gets back to de-risking, but also the resource, the extent of the potential to grow the thing both along strike and at depth. And pretty much that's me, so I thank you for your attention.